Do you ever find that games aren't as enjoyable as they used to be? For the last 2 months of November and December, I've decided to find the reasons for this and the respective solution. Join me as I share my thoughts on the various things I've tried, like changing when you play games, for what reasons you can play games, and also navigating the complex emotions tied to gaming and content creation here on YouTube. Changing when I play games. Back in, I think, late October and early November, one of the first things that I've tried was to shift when I play games. When I was younger, especially in high school, first thing I'd do once I got home was to play games for as long as I could. And nowadays, it would also be possible, funnily enough, not because I don't have responsibilities or anything, I still do, but I firmly believe that if you truly want to do something, you will find ways to allocate time for that activity. Anyways, responsibilities first, fun later was the first test solution. This meant pushing my gaming sessions to evenings and nights, mostly as the last thing I did before going to sleep, playing as a reward. Playing games as a reward turned out to be an amazing experience. It added sense of accomplishment and made each gaming session more meaningful, which ties into a point I will mention later. The byproduct of knowing I get to relax and play games at the end of the day was somewhat of an increase in productivity when it came to my responsibilities. I was no longer putting off my work as often, since by doing that, I would have to do it later and it would decrease the time I had for games. But here's the problem that arose. Even though I wasn't playing games during the day because I had the willpower to do so and sort of coded it into my brain as an activity that required some preparation, almost like a ritual, instead, whenever I did not feel like doing work, I grabbed the easiest distraction I could, which was mostly YouTube Shorts and other forms of short content. So that is something to keep in mind. You know, the idea of having the mental focus necessary that would enable you to sacrifice instant gratification for a delayed one. My Morrowind experience. The choice of the game for this test solution was more of a serendipity. I didn't pick Morrowind for any specific reason, but it ended up teaching me about another valuable idea. Specifically, sharing your adventures or experiences with others. Or as Christopher McCandless would put it, happiness is only real when shared. What I did was that during the gaming sessions, I took screenshots of things that happened to me. After I was done playing, I then took those screenshots and summarized in a couple of sentences what I went through that session and shared it with my friends. Interestingly enough, even though I could have made a video about the whole experience and share it here on YouTube, I guess at that moment it felt like not everything I do has to be shared so publicly, which can often lead to not sharing since you could be judged and the imposter syndrome kicks in and whatnot. I'll come back to this point of comparing yourself to others later. But yeah, sharing hobbies with people that will react and ask you more about your adventures is a lot of fun. Guilt and the purpose of life. Yet even with the enjoyment I felt, there was occasionally this lingering guilt, a feeling of wasting real-life time. It's a paradox, having fun yet questioning the use of time. But as I'm making this video, I've had the luck to learn about the philosophies of absurdism, nihilism, and existentialism, at least on the surface level. And I'm starting to think that if I want to feel like there is a purpose to my existence, then let it be so that I have fun living, I guess. Perfectionism and progress. Back to what I mentioned in the Morrowind segment, I've always been a perfectionist, and breaking free from it is a journey that's probably going to take a long time. December marked my attempt at actively trying to let go of my perfectionism and embrace the learning by doing something even incorrectly over seemingly impeccable planning that resulted in inactivity. In other words, it's better to take what could be a wrong step, instead of not taking one which can ultimately be the worst one. After all, both are just choices we make with our intention, and while one leads us to freedom, the other one keeps us slaves. This idea comes from Enderall, the Forgotten Stories, and I cannot recommend it enough. Don't compare yourself to others. With perfectionism comes imposter syndrome, and as much as I'm aware that it is essential not to compare yourself to others, but rather to your past self, it is just as hard thing to remember sometimes when you don't see the results, much like I did in November. But sometimes you just gotta persevere, and you might bear the fruit of your effort. Also, in the process of creation, focusing on your own personal growth can lead to a more fulfilling journey. Take inspiration from others, but do what feels right to you and what makes you the happiest instead of trying to be the best copycat. Gothic 1 in German. At the start, I asked for what reasons can you play games. With the guilt I experienced even during Morrowind, this was a question I had on my mind the most. Sure, thinking I'm playing games to make videos to become successful here on YouTube is nice, but realistically, not all too likely. And even if it was likely, focusing on the experience rather than on the victory, so to speak, is probably the healthier mindset. Again, it kinda also ties to the idea that many times we can be doing things that we want to do, but society deems stupid or not right for us. And that's probably where that guilt was coming from in my case. But honestly, bro, let me be me. When is that gonna start? But I digress. The way I tried to combat the guilt, while somewhat tricking myself into believing that I'm not doing it for the expectations of others, was to learn a new language by playing games. For that, I started playing Gothic 1 made by Piranhabytes with the Othello mod in the original German version. So far, and I'm talking 30 or so hours in, I am yet to feel guilty. However, the translation process while playing brings its own challenges. Having to translate almost every other word makes it so that I can't really bring myself to play for prolonged periods of time, mostly because my brain is just not keeping up, which, honestly, is probably a blessing in disguise. You know, even too much of something good can become overwhelming or harmful, so maybe the key to enjoy playing games again was always to do so in moderation. I don't know. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Anyways, if you liked the video, like the video, and why not subscribe? It would mean a lot. Also, if you want to see more videos in this random rambling style, check out my Minecraft end poem video, where I talk about how to enjoy not only Minecraft, but also life from the perspective of the end poem. But thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.